Filters, social media, and work from home. All of this has led to Gen Z, or Gen Z, to a new status symbol, and that's their face. And they're enhancing it with Botox and other fillers. A report from the Aesthetic Society, which performs cosmetic procedures here in Canada and the US, found that in 2021, more than 5.4 million injectable procedures were performed in those two countries. That's up from just over 2.5 million in procedures in 2019. So for a closer look at the Botox boom, we're joined this morning by Business Insider's Eve Upton-Clark. Good morning, Eve.
Morning, how are you?
Good. So just to remind everybody, Gen Z is anybody born between 97 and 2012, so people in the age range of 12 years old to 27. How young, though, are people starting with injections, and which treatments are they choosing?
I mean, obviously from the age of like 18, and we're seeing a rise in the minimally invasive procedures. So that includes lip filler, Botox, those sort of like smaller tweakments that have a way more accessible cost point, and also, you know, it's not a major surgery. So you're seeing that becoming more and more normalized.
I love that phrase, tweakments. There was a big bump in non-invasive procedures or tweakments from 2019 to 2022. Why do you think that is?
I think obviously the pandemic had a lot to kind of do with spending more of our time online. We saw that kind of Zoom boom, I think it was termed, where people were looking at their faces more. And that also coincided with what I was particularly looking at in the article, filter technology becoming more and more advanced. So people, especially young people, spending a lot of time on social media, and these kind of face AI filters where you can kind of enhance your features, whether that's your complexion or just kind of tweaking your cheekbones or your lips. And so people spending more and more time looking at their altered faces online and then looking at themselves in the mirror, and the kind of gap growing between those two looks.
Right, so you're saying they see themselves in a filter, then they see themselves in reality. They're preferring the filtered version and trying to achieve that. Those are some of the social side effects of this kind of use rather than medical, but what are the long-term medical and mental health effects of Botox and filler for people who start using it as early as their late teens?
Yeah, so as for the medical impacts, it's not something I specifically looked into, and also I'm assuming that the data is quite limited on that, considering a lot of these procedures are quite new, so we don't know the long-term effects of use. But in terms of self-esteem and body image, there has been a lot of research, and people can kind of also, you know from their lived experience, the more time that you spend online looking at this kind of global beauty ideal, this Instagram face as it's been termed, it correlates with negative body image, self-esteem issues, and as the more and more time that we spend online, the more dissatisfied we'll be with ourselves offline.
I guess that leads me to my next question, which is, like people like Gen X or millennials who have the opportunity to compare sort of before online use and after, sort of what the effects of that might be. But for a generation who has only grown up online, and again, that's Gen Z, using social media, and how does that all play into this when they've only really the majority of time seen themselves on social media?
Yeah. So obviously there is a kind of, as I mentioned, a global beauty ideal, and we're seeing that becoming more and more homogenized, kind of where previous generations didn't experience that so much. So obviously cosmetic procedures were still a thing. There was still a beauty ideal, but this kind of Instagram face is a new phenomenon. And as you mentioned, people who've only grown up online, they've only kind of seen that version of beauty, and that's all they have to kind of compare their faces to, and also comparing their faces to their own tweaked AI augmented faces as well. So obviously that is going to have a lasting impact and kind of skew your perception of what is normal if you're only looking at other people online who have poreless skin, who have plump lips, who have perfect bodies. Even if they aren't the reality, that is what you're going to be ultimately comparing yourself to, which is obviously damaging. Yeah,
hard to chase down an AI version of yourself. Hey, Eve, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.